People need a place to live, and that's just a human rights issue. Like, everyone needs to have a safe place to live.
That's why I'll be bringing a motion to council to pause any net new supportive housing units in the city of Vancouver until we see increased supportive housing availability brought across the region.
How could you be against housing people? Well, like everyone on this earth deserves to be under, what is it? A roof.
This project, it's a documentary. It's going to be on Vancouver's non-market housing. Is there anything you would like maybe the public to know that's maybe not in the conversation?
Just recognizing the need. I think we all recognize the last homeless count a couple of years ago, I think, identified more than 4,000 people who are homeless in the region. And so there's absolutely a need for more supportive housing.
Okay. And it seems like recently there's been some changes in motions in the past. That's going to be halting any new investment into non-market housing.
It's not a permanent measure. But the intention for me that stood out in the motion was to focus on upgrading and replacing the existing SROs and supportive housing that we have in Vancouver.
Non-market housing is, generally speaking, affordable housing for folks who have low to moderate incomes who are poorly served by private market housing. It tends to have government subsidy attached to make the rents affordable, and it's run either by government entities, nonprofit providers, or cooperatives.
Why do we want more non-market housing?
You guys won't have a place to live. That's the bottom line. Like we're right now, it depends on the study, but just in British Columbia alone, we were anywhere from 150 to 300,000 homes too little for the number of people we have living here today. And so if your generation wants to eventually one day move out of your parents' homes or basements or wherever and be able to actually afford it, we need housing.
We could ask you a couple questions about what it's like to live here. We're working on a documentary. Yeah? You have a few minutes? Okay. Thank you. Is it okay if my friend films it? Sure. Will you always have to live in this kind of like subsidized rent? Or do you think you'll be able to move into other
BC houses? Is rent so expensive? I cannot pay like around 2,000. So high.
It's very expensive here, yeah. Do you feel safe here though?
Not that safe.
No, it doesn't feel safe because of the Hastings situation?
Hastings and like a lot homeless.
And like you've mentioned that this is good, but there's some problems maybe?
Yeah, but
how could they make it better, like improve it?
Prove it like have like everything like own, like for example, this is for singer, this is for the
family,
for this for not mix
like people coming off the street and like families and things. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's cold for baby.
Totally.
Summer is okay, like I take him out a little bit and by time smoke out I bring him back.
Yeah, but here I like it because government help people. Not our country.
Not in Syria.
There.
Yeah. No, we are very lucky here. It's not perfect, but like it's still very good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The federal government throughout Canadian history has had various times where they're sort of in the housing game and really active in funding housing that's affordable. So they had programs to fund housing for veterans after World War II. They had funding programs through the 70s, and then in the 80s they had really substantial involvement in creating new housing across the country. Getting into the late 80s and into the early 90s, the federal government started slowly pulling out of housing, and really it was around 1993, I believe, where they said housing is a provincial responsibility. And then at that time, some provinces said, well, no, if it's not a federal responsibility, it's not a provincial responsibility, it's a municipal responsibility. And of course, when they took away responsibility for housing from the federal government, we really, in Canada, went into a period in some provinces of 20 plus years of no investment in affordable housing. the consequences of that are being felt so deeply today. We're 20 to 30 years behind in terms of our creation of affordable housing for our communities, and we're playing catch up, and we'll be playing catch up for a long, long time.
So where should I look? Do I look there? Do I look at you? Okay, great. Not having a home makes it really difficult to get to appointments. It makes it really difficult to store your medication safely and take it. It makes it really difficult for your, to get to even a therapy appointment. Like, it makes everything really difficult. For youth, for families, not having a home is really stressful.
We hear this from in particular, our prospective tenants, people that would like to be living in our buildings. The state is that there isn't enough of it, and a lot of what is out there isn't affordable enough.
The waiting list was so long.
Was it? How long?
So long. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. Housing crisis these days need more building, more infrastructure, more fund from the government. So it's not only one thing, it's just like a lot of things together just to move this forward.
All housing is housing that we need right now. We're so far behind. That's the way we even justify bringing something online that might only be 20% below market. You know, in 10 years, it's probably more like 35% below market, and in 20 years, it's probably 40 to 50% below market. Okay. So we need to do that today.
Actually need to do is, if you want 100 units of affordable housing, you actually need to build 1,000 units. 900 of them might be closer to market rents, but 100 of them will actually be affordable, and then you don't need government subsidy to make that work.
And so the motion calls for no net new supportive housing.
So the motion did pass. So if we're looking at the folks who live in supportive housing or who need supportive housing, the impact of that motion is that there'll be less options available for them to move in off the street into homes that they need to support themselves to live independently. And given the volatile nature and the trauma that's associated with homelessness, those folks will continue to endure physical and mental trauma on the streets, which leads to more complex problems that they have overall. And given things like the toxic drug crisis that we're facing here in British Columbia, it also means a lot of folks are probably going to die while waiting for that housing. And I think when we talk about the impact of this motion as well, it's important to think about the impact on community. And what the community is going to see is an increase in homelessness and a lot more, at least it'll stay the same, the amount of visible homelessness you see, and it'll probably likely increase as well, just as we're not providing more housing solutions, and we know that homelessness is still increasing.
There's lots of council members and politicians generally who think they have a better idea than all the people that have worked their whole life in housing. No, chances are you don't know. The realities, though, is that we reward politicians for 4-year cycles. Nobody gets, you don't get votes for thinking 20 years from now.
So I say to the public, demand it from your politicians at all levels, that we create opportunity for affordable housing and that we fund it, because our future generations are the ones that will lose most substantially if we don't. And when you do have something come into your neighborhood, be the person that comes out and speaks in support of it, because it is good. It is good. We demand to a certain extent that's a priority, but then when our neighborhoods, we live in a neighborhood, and when we hear that there's a new affordable housing development being built in our neighborhood, the neighborhood will come out and say, we don't want that. There's this stigmatization, we don't want those people. The vast majority of them have done nothing other than bring benefit to the community and to the neighborhoods that they've gone into.
The fundamental question is, do we want housing to be for investment and for financial gain, or is it a human right, and is it something that people need to survive?
Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, she's not wrong. Shall we then?